Thanks for joining us today. We have Sarah Latyn from Target Specialty Products. Sarah, thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You're going to be one of our presenters, and actually, I don't know if you've seen the roster, but you are the leadoff hitter. You're the first presenter of the day on November 5th up in East Syracuse, New York, for the Upstate Conference for the New York Pest Management Association. And is this your first time speaking for New York Pest Management Association, or?
Yes, actually.
Oh, wow! Okay, so we get the honor of the rookie performance. Holy cow!
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now you're not a rookie though in doing these presentations. I've seen you're all kind of all over the place. Give us a little background of where you came from, how you got into this.
Oh goodness. Okay. So I've been in the pest control industry since 2018 now. I started with a company called Bedbug Central, and Bedbug Central doesn't really exist anymore. We were heavily focused on bedbugs, and then COVID kind of came and really did away with our business model, unfortunately. And with that company, though, a lot of what we did was training. So it wasn't we treat for bed bugs in people's homes. It was we train the pest control industry. We speak at conferences. We go into individual companies and go out in the field and teach them how to treat for bed bugs in the best way that we knew possible. And so when I started in 2018, I really got kind of thrown into the fire when it came to speaking. I mean, that was just the expectation. It was not part of anything I had ever done previously. But before I started in 2018, I had just finished a master's program at Rutgers that was very heavily focused on, as much as everybody hates it, it was heavily focused on group projects and public speaking. That was the program. It was a business and science program, and they really put everybody together. I had one class, I think I had probably 8 presentations that I had to do throughout that semester. And so I think that's what really primed me for being in the pest control industry and doing what I love doing, which is speaking in front of people. So that's where I started. And then after Bedbug Central kind of went away, I worked for a pest control company for a little bit in New York. I worked for Rest Easy Pest Control. They were based in New York, Philadelphia, and I live in New Jersey. So I was able to kind of travel between the two. And then last September, actually, I started at Target Specialty Products. So speaking in front of people, attending conferences, this is quite literally my dream job.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So why entomology? Like, I know you went to school and you were an entomology major. So why would you pick that course? What was it about that?
So when I went to undergrad, when I was at Rutgers for my undergrad degree, I was actually a bio major because I really wanted to be a doctor, which I think most bio majors at some point, you really like science going into college. And if you really like science, well, you're going to be a doctor. That's what you're going to be. That did not pan out. Rutgers turned out to be one of the best times of my life for undergrad. Don't get me wrong, but I was not doing as much studying as I probably should have. But when I got into my junior year, I had to take an elective. You know, everybody hates the electives they have to take, but I took actually an IPM for agriculture elective. And that was kind of a light bulb moment for me that said, wow, I love this stuff. It was the first class I got an A in. I didn't even have to try. I was just absorbing information, and I was able to really just convey that information on exams or to people, or I was going home and telling people all the amazing things that I learned. And so I added it as a minor in undergrad, actually, because I was just too far along to change majors at that point. So I added it as a minor. And I think one of the reasons that I love it so much, I wanted to be a doctor. I really wanted to be a orthopedic surgeon, limbs and helping people with their joints and things like that. And I think going into bugs where they are very, they're jointed, they have a lot of limbs, right? I don't know. I think that kind of was what it was for me, was all the moving parts. There's so many of them out there. It's one of those things you can really easily study by just going in your backyard. And I don't know, I just fell in love with it. And then I was just pretty good at it. It was one of those things where you find what you're good at and you stick with it.
So I have to ask this. So when you go to Rutgers and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to be a doctor. When you come home that one semester that it occurs to you, like, Mom and Dad, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a bug scientist. How does that go over?
Well, I don't know if you want to cut this eventually, but I think the academic probation at one point probably told them I wasn't going to be a doctor.
Okay.
I liked weekend activities and weeknight activities more than I liked studying. So I hadn't changed from biology because I knew I always wanted to do something in the sciences. And then when I found my first entomology class, when I found that IPM class, their biggest wide-eye moment was when I said I was going to stay in school longer in order to finish out that minor, because I couldn't have finished with the time that I had left. And so that was more their wide-eye moment of, oh, you're going to stay at school longer. That's fantastic, I guess. But I ended up having an internship with the USDA at the port. And honestly, now that we're so far gone from that, I don't know what else I would have done with my life, with just having just a bio degree and not being a doctor anymore. But I think that they had figured out pretty early on that was not the career path for me. It was just the one that I thought I wanted, I guess, if we can call it that.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, and a lot of times when you go to school, you have a different idea of what you think the world's going to be kind and what you want to do, and then you kind of get out there and find your way a little bit.
Absolutely. That's the best part about that, as you go and you kind of figure yourself out. I always knew it was science. I just didn't know what science it was going to be.
Yeah, sure. Now, this is as a little bit of an aside. So Bedbug Central was training heavy, and was there an arc for that organization? When I look at it from the outside, seeing what Bedbug Central did, came on at a time when, as an industry, we really were sort of flat-footed with, hey, 2002 comes around, we're like, hey, what are these little bugs that are in people's, holy crap, there's bed bugs. What do we do? And so there was like this big delta of training and understanding, and it really kind of arose in that void, and then kind of had an arc of training, and then we kind of now know what to do about bed bugs. Is that sort of a natural arc for that organization, do you think? Or do you think it really was like it just didn't have a future there?
I think one of the biggest issues, I don't know that arc necessarily needed to be there, because when I started in 2018, I started way past kind of the inception when Dr. Richard Cooper had really started the idea of Bedbug Central and was working with Rutgers a lot in that space. When I started, the idea was, okay, now we're going to hit the affordable housing industry hard. Instead of going directly to pest control, because we've been doing that for years. Jeff White, Danny White, they had been doing that fantastically. Yeah. So my role was going to come in and we were going to start hitting, the affordable housing and talking to them directly about what they should be putting into their RFPs, what they should be expecting from their pest control companies, why they're having continued issues, things that we could maybe help solve from an inside perspective, as opposed to just hoping your pest control company knows what they're doing when it comes to bed bugs. Yeah. So I think that would have been kind of a new arc that they were taking. But unfortunately, with COVID, our business solely relied on bed bugs. There was no diversification there. And I don't think that's a secret. I don't think anybody would see this and think, wow, I can't believe you're saying that. But there wasn't really a lot of diversification there. So when people are not treating for bed bugs in the industry because, either bed bugs aren't moving around as much because with COVID, people weren't moving around as much, or you didn't want anybody in your home for long periods of time because you didn't want anybody near you, lots of logistical things going on, whether it was the presence of bed bugs or not. I think that just really hurt us because we relied solely on, or not solely, but we rely on training, right? So somebody has us speak at a conference or they pay us to come out and train their company. And then we also sold bedbug products. So now if people are not paying us to come in and train and they're not buying our bedbug products because they're not seeing bedbugs, that's just what's going to hurt that company. I don't think that it wasn't a natural progression. It was almost like a full stop due to what was going on, around the globe, unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Now, so is there a natural cycle for bedbug populations sort of on a community-wide basis? This is sort of an off the rails question. I get this from our office staff. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, we're getting all these calls all of a sudden," and we'll, hotels and multi-unit housing, and we'll get these rashes, and they want to say, "Hey, we're having an outbreak." Are there those? Have you seen those kinds of cycles? Is there a natural bedbug population cycle, or are we just seeing call volume dynamics because of whatever reason?
So call volume dynamics, that could obviously play into it, but I know what some research that has been done, whether it is actual peer-reviewed research or anecdotal research, and what we see, especially now that I work at Target, I rely on other people to tell me what they're seeing and what they're hearing, and this is the call volume we're getting. And that's kind of the data that we rely on right now. But I think what we have seen in the past, and now bedbugs, I think, are at a really wonky time where some people are seeing a lot of them and they're getting hit hard, and other people are saying, "Hey, I did so many bedbugs before COVID, and I'm doing maybe one a year," and they're in New York or Connecticut, somewhere that you would think that they would do a lot. So I think they're still a little wonky, but what we have seen in the past before all of that was an ebb and flow kind of with vacation season. So you're going out, you're spending more time outside of your house. So maybe in the summer or in the spring or in the early fall, that's when we might have seen an ebb and flow with bed bugs, just because people are moving around a lot more. It's not, they're not an outdoor pest. They're not going to be a problem just because it's warm out. But when it's warm out, people are moving around a lot more, as opposed to in the winter, where a lot of people are just staying home and trying to stay warm, especially where you guys are. And then, I'm in New Jersey. It doesn't get as cold as it does up in Syracuse, but you're just staying home trying to stay warm. Maybe you go on a trip here or there because you want to experience the warmth in Florida or on the beach somewhere. But that's kind of the ebb and flow that we have seen in the past.
Okay. Yeah. We have seen that. We call like the end of the summer, the July, August into September moving season. A lot of our, apartment living, everybody kind of moves around before the school year starts and settles out. And so it'll shake up a lot of calls. All of a sudden you'll get, August will just come and be like, bang, 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 whole bunch of calls. So what emerging trends do you see coming in the future for us in pest control? Do you see anything that we should be on the lookout for as PCOs that maybe we're not looking for right now?
Not so much a trend, I don't know, but when I go to still do bedbug talks, it's funny to go back to what you were saying about when bedbugs came back around in 2000 or 2002. When I was doing my undergrad and I had to do all my insect collections, and that was maybe, let's say it was 2009, 2010. I didn't have a bed bug in my collection. Bed bugs weren't something that we talked about even then at Rutgers, which is just an interesting fact here. But I would say that even though it's been 20 plus years, 25 plus years at this point, people still come up to me and ask me questions of things like you're saying. We feel like we have a pretty good handle on it. And the questions they definitely make me kind of go cross-eyed. Okay. And part of it is because I've been doing this and talking about this, and, I read the literature that comes in and the new stuff, or I talk to the people doing the research. But I think something that we have going on with bed bugs right now that we're really lucky is we have much better products than we did when they first came back around. Nobody really knew what to do, bag everything, prep everything. The products aren't maybe not working the best way we should. So now I think even if you don't really know a whole lot about that biology and behavior as much as I might, and where they really want to be, what they really want to do, right? That kind of thing. You have really good products where if you're just putting them in good places and you're doing a thorough treatment, you're going to get good control of bed bugs these days. So I don't know as far as trends are concerned. I know people are still trying to come out with different monitors or different ways of detecting them, but we haven't really seen those catch hold. So I'm not sure if there's anything, maybe if I had, some more time to really think about it, but I'm not sure that there's any new trends with bed bugs. I think we just have very good products, good means of control, put all those things together, and you can get rid of bed bugs even if you're not somebody that studies them all the time.
Sure. Now, there is right now when I look out at the landscape of bedbug management, it's interesting because we have I feel like we're in a time where we have a lot of different protocols that people have in their minds, and so depending on who you're talking to, PCOs, homeowners, hotels. Everybody has I know how, it's supposed to be heat. It's supposed to be biopesticide. It's supposed to be chemical. It's supposed to be steam. Like there's a whole mishmash, this cornucopia of techniques and things. Prep has changed. Like it is really crazy. Are there things that are holding over that we shouldn't hold on to anymore? Are there procedures or protocols that we've moved off of that and we don't really need to be doing anymore, or are they all valid and they all have a time and a place?
So I have an opinion on that, and part of that is me coming from Bedbug Central. So when I was with Bedbug Central, we taught the no prep bedbug treatment method. And we would go into companies, or we would talk about it at conferences and meetings, and we would, talk about how it's not necessary to have your customers bag all of those things. And I have done that in the field. I've trained on it. I know that it works. The biggest issue with let me back up. There's still a lot of people that say that's the only way you can do prep. I follow some of the groups on Facebook. I'm sure you do as well. I'm more of a lurker than an actual commenter, but anytime something comes up about bed bugs, it's always funny to me. I'm not having control here. What should I do? And the first responses are always, your customer has to be prepping, or you're never going to get rid of them. And that is just simply it's not true. Now, saying the word prep, really what I like to say is your customer needs to cooperate with you. That'll make things a lot easier. But I really don't believe in this whole scale method of preparation, throw all your stuff in bags. And then when I come in, I'm doing an inspection, I'm seeing where they are and I'm treating. But sometimes I look at that when I've been out with companies that do that I look at that as the lazy way of doing pest control. You have your customer put all of this stuff in bags, you have them flip your furniture, take that outlet covers off the wall, all these things, and then you go in and you spray. Maybe you dust a little bit, but you pretty much spray, and then you leave. And then in, a couple of weeks or in a month, or, whatever your follow-up period is in a couple of weeks. But then after you finish that, all of a sudden your customer is saying, I'm seeing bed bugs again. And the immediate response is, oh, well, you brought them back in, you reintroduce them. Where at the end of the day, so many of these companies, and I'm saying these companies that I've dealt with, I don't want anybody to get all up in arms when they watch this, right? But I've dealt with a lot of companies that they have no means of monitoring for that bedbug population. So they can't say with any certainty that they've eliminated the bedbugs to begin with, but it's so much easier to say, oh, you brought them back in, I'm going to charge you to come back in and do the service. Or it's so much easier to say, I need you to prep because that's what we were doing 20 years ago. And then, when a problem arises, because that could solve a lot of problems. I'm not saying that never works, but I look at it from if we know how the bug is going to act and the customer doesn't really have that much of a problem in their home, or it hasn't spread very far, why are we having the customer do all of that work? And sometimes to me, it just looks like we want to just blame somebody if the treatment doesn't work. Unfortunately, that's what I get people saying, as opposed to, or they prepped wrong. Well, what is prepping wrong? Your customer doesn't sit in these conferences and get CEUs the way you do. We put just a lot of responsibility on somebody that has no idea what they're doing to do a good job. And then on the flip side, we also turn around when that customer says, hey, this is what Google told me. And we have the tendency to say, oh, well, Google was wrong. You have to listen to everything that I said, right? So it's this kind of back and forth of you're putting everything on the customer in one instance, and then in the others, you don't even want the customers to educate themselves in any way, shape, or form. So I could go on about that forever, but I will say that prep is my biggest thing. Bed bugs are a puzzle. every infestation is not going to be the same. And I don't like treating them one size fits all. I like going in, getting eyes on the situation and saying, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And then we can work together. Or going in, I've gone in sometimes, I don't need you to do anything. We found 2 bed bugs in your home. You know, what do I really need you to do for me besides maybe hot launder some items and hot launder your sheets, and let's make sure that they're not spreading around much more after that. But there is no one size fits all when it comes to bed bugs. And that's what we've done in the industry for so long.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're saying assessment-based IPM is like has a home right here for bed bugs. Like this
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really what it is assessment-based pest management. I mean, going in and saying, this is what I see. This is what I need you to help me with. And that's where the prep versus no prep, when people are saying, well, you're still asking your customer to help you. And I look at that as cooperation as opposed to pre-service prep. Right? If I'm going in and I'm putting eyes on things and saying, hey, that has bed bugs in it, I need you to wash it, take care of it, whatever I'm asking you to do, I'm putting eyes on it, and then I'm making targeted recommendations the same way we do targeted treatments, right? As opposed to just saying, you need to turn your whole life upside down until we get rid of these bed bugs. And if we don't get rid of them, then it's your fault because you didn't do it properly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny to me because we'll deal with a lot as a sort of an intermediary between organizations like, say, HUD and a housing authority, and they'll have disagreements on what is supposed to happen. And a lot of people will try to speak from a position of authority saying, oh, nope, HUD's saying you have to do this, this, and this. And you're like, hold on. And so like working through that with all the parties that can be involved is really the key task. The resident or tenant or homeowner, a landlord or property manager, housing authority, government agency that's paying and involved and whatnot. Like you really have to be a hub to communicate in all the different ways to those to get that message through. Because one party really wants to see things a certain way, another party needs to hear it a different way. So I think the people part of it is really the hardest part. I've always said that bugs are not hard to kill. They're very, very small little organisms, but dealing with the people is really where the money's at.
Absolutely, truly. And I know it's usually easier said than done, but whenever I do a presentation or I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I can say to you, right, I could say in a probably more direct way than you want to say to your customer, but you know, I do this with mosquitoes a lot. A lot of my presentation is, if your customer wants to live on a lake, they want to have water features around their home and have that really nice lakefront property, they're going to have mosquito issues. However you want to communicate that to them, that's on you, right? I'm just the talking head essentially, which sometimes can make my job easier, honestly. But at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, is how can you best communicate to your customer what they're going to see? And then not just communicating like speaking. So many companies are very quick to give a 5-page prep list. Mm-hmm. They're not as quick, and this isn't just bed bugs, this is lots of things. They're not as quick to give supplemental information after the service. Yeah. And think about it when you go to the doctor, right? Your doctor says a whole bunch of stuff to you when you're in there and you're just nodding and you're like, yeah, I picked up on one of those things, right? And then maybe I'll go home and read my report when I get home. And I feel like we need to do the same thing in pest control, just find a better way, you know, writing things down, not paragraphs and paragraphs of information, but communicating things in a way that people can actually absorb and pay attention to, and will help them to actually say, oh, I understand what you're saying now. I understand what I need to do. Or, oh, you did tell me that I might see some bugs in between services, you know, that kind of thing. You know, how do we best communicate with them, you know, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then what they're going to see or continue to see after services.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the misunderstandings can be ripe. You think you're saying something and they're hearing a certain thing, and they're hearing a totally different thing than what you think they're hearing. Now, shifting gears slightly, but where do you stand on encasements? Is it a must-have every time? Is it a don't ever do it? Is it, if it's on there, leave it? If it's off, give me your take on encasements.
Oh. Well, that was 5 different questions. So I love encasements. I will always talk about encasements as part of a program. they're not going to be, the only thing that you do, and then you never see bed bugs again, right? But I do think that they provide a lot of value, especially in heavy infestations. And so often we talk about mattress encasements, but the more important is going to be your box spring encasement. That's where you're going to see more issues with bed bugs, all those cracks and crevices in a box spring, that they're hiding in, they're laying their eggs in. Encasing that and kind of getting that difficult box spring out of the way. I mean, it's a very simple means of treatment. How long does it really take to put an encasement on? Encasements need to be specific bed bug encasements though, right? If your customer wants to save a couple bucks and go to Walmart and buy a dust cover, that's not the same thing. They're not bite proof. Their zippers are not manufactured in a way so that bed bugs can't get out. It needs to be a bed bug encasement, not just something that goes around the bed. I will also say that they might not necessarily be necessary on every treatment. If you have customers that they don't want to pay for it, or you want to put it as an add-on, that is going to have some customers say, hey, I don't think I really need this. I don't want to pay extra for it. And if you have a customer that only you found 2 bed bugs in their home, I'm not going to tell you need to force them to get an encasement. But when people have more and more bed bugs in their home, it's a really good way to help with your inspection. So when you go back, imagine you're inspecting the box spring and you're inspecting the mattress, all those little cracks and crevices and seams and tufts. And if you just put an encasement on there, that makes your inspection so much easier, right? So that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm a huge proponent of them, is just making that inspection easier when you come back. It didn't take that long to put on in the first place, but it's also going to help save the mattress and or save the box spring, right? Whatever you are putting it on. Again, if you're only going to do one, I'm going to do the box spring, but it's really going to help you to save that furniture from being so overwhelmed with bed bugs. And bed bugs get disgusting, right? So if you have a mattress that's covered in fecal spotting and all the black stuff, and now maybe it's covered in dead bugs and carcasses and all that, if we can put an encasement over that, then that can help us to kind of save that person's furniture, if they want to keep that, or especially from an affordability perspective. I'm searching for new mattresses right now. They're not cheap. But putting an encasement on in the long run is going to be something that can help that person save their furniture, their mattress, and their box spring, while also making a nice clean surface for you to be able to do an inspection with. And then one thing that you can always do, build that into your service protocol, build that into your pricing. If you don't give your customers an option, they can't say no.
Yeah. Now, I have a bit of a humorous question. In the last year, you started working at Target, and it's a dream job. Target Specialty Products is awesome. You get to train all the time. You got married and you got a BCE.
I did.
Which one of those was the best thing to happen in the last year?
Well, technically, I got married a year and a half ago. So
okay.
Saved my job.
So you're safe. You're safe there then. Okay.
Yeah. I would say getting the job. Well, the marriage, that's great.
Okay.
My husband, I love my husband. Maybe he'll see this if he goes on my page on LinkedIn. But getting my job, this is truly, I know a lot of people don't say it. So I know that a lot of people, when they hear me say this is my dream job, they're usually telling me how refreshing that is. But I made a joke in the past, and it's not so much a joke, but for anybody that knows, my current boss, Heather Alonzo, or Heather King, she used to be the technical training manager at Target, and now she's at the director level. So I report to her directly. And I have known Heather for many years in the pest control industry. I have looked up to her. I have admired her from afar for many years. But if you asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what I really wanted to do, I would say, I want to do whatever the heck Heather King does. That's what I want to do. I want to be Heather King. So it's not even really a joke. I mean, now I get to do that. Truly. Wow. I get to talk at conferences, which I love doing, because obviously with the BCE, and I am working on my master's in entomology right now, I love just talking about bugs. So if you need an hour CEU, you have to listen to me, right? That is, you don't have a choice. And you have to listen to me talk about whatever I want to talk about, right? Because so many of these talks, we're all hearing the same thing over and over again. So I want to try and add some things in there that I just genuinely enjoy talking about. And hopefully you learn something as well from me picking out things that I love to talk about. But also I get to travel. I mean, I got to go to the Caribbean in August, and that was truly not something I ever thought was going to be part of this role. And then I get to go to Montreal actually on Friday. So it's really been just amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're so glad to have you up here for this. November 5th in East Syracuse, New York. We have the Upstate Conference. You're the first leadoff one. So 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody be ready. Hear about bed bugs.
Really low for everyone.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I think the tough slots in those days are right before lunch and the last one of the day. Those are the hard slots. That's rough.
Yeah, it really is.
So, but we're so happy to have you. I can't wait to see your presentation. If people need to get a hold of you, how can they go ahead and do that?
So anybody can email me, Sarah, SARAH .Latyn, LATYN @target-specialty.com. And that would be the easiest way that you could get a hold of me. I also have a work phone, 609-937-9463. Email is sometimes just easier because, again, I travel a lot. And so that will allow me to get back to you, or you can see, hey, I'm out of office right now, as opposed to texting me or calling me. And I'm not picking up the phone because I'm on an airplane. So email is sometimes just the easiest way to get to me. Awesome.
All right. We'll see you up here soon.
Great. Thank you guys so much for having me. And thank you for having me on this little interview.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.